Hey, I hope you guys can hear me. So we have ETL Chakan, Head of Research, GTM and Insights Architect, and an Agentic AI Integrator. Today, she's here to unpack the AI gap, exploring the intersection between what AI can do for businesses and what consumers actually need from it, right? So over to you.
Hello, thank you very much. I am looking to move the slides. I'm only seeing the cover slide right now. Here we go. We're ready. Got it. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. As Divya gracefully mentioned, this is based on a study that we conducted at IrisFlex in 2025. The data is from February 2025, but I believe the trends still apply. I've been tracking the space closely given the subject matter, and multiple studies are pointing in the same direction. There's still a big gap between what businesses are providing to the marketplace in terms of AI capabilities and what consumers are able to or ready to grasp. So I hope we can have a fruitful discussion around this. This is a snippet of the findings given our time restriction, but feel free to ask questions and we can always follow up after the presentation. So without further ado, here's a little bit of background on our methodology, because I feel like that's always on people's minds saying, what am I looking at? You are looking at a national study based on 1,000+ interviews among US adults. So it's statistically significant and relevant. The survey period I mentioned was the beginning of 2025. That's important in terms of thinking about recent launches and products that may have come into the marketplace, but the sentiment was captured recently. The sample is balanced to match the census data, another tactic we use to make sure what we're talking about is representative of US adults. And this is in partnership with TestSet, a great team and a data company, a global data company that provided the sample from their panel. So let's start by talking about the skill gap. And as I present these gaps to you, and there are more beyond the scope of this presentation, I'll also talk about the implications for your go-to-market strategies and what that might mean for someone who's developing a product, pitching a product, or hoping to get user traction. The skill gap concerns both US adult large population and also obviously the employees. The trend is the same, perhaps a bit more pronounced among employees, but we still fear that AI will take our jobs. And there will be fewer jobs, new types of jobs coming in than those that are going to be extinct. So the fear is dominant, pervasive, and it overshadows every other view about AI. As you can see, few people say, I don't think it will affect the job market. Everybody's pretty aware there's a big shift. Now, when looking at just US employees, let's take a business view. And these are people who are full-time, part-time employed, or self-employed. They are more likely to use AI for personal reasons than at work. So there's definitely shadow use. There's definitely more experience than they're able to have, given what their employers provide. And it also speaks to the flip side of it. It speaks to the opportunity for enterprise AI, bringing in AI tools, training employees, and allowing them to close that gap. But let's see if trials at home, I mean, it's a pretty high percentage, is translating into positive attitudes towards AI. There is some skepticism and some trust issues around AI, and that's going to shadow their attitudes down the line towards AI-based advertising, AI-based products, services. We'll see that. The US employee that's today using AI doesn't find the results accurate. There's always some skepticism. There's some knowledge about data coming in, maybe not being representative, information from AI-based tools can be inaccurate. So there's a need to double check things. This is not perfect yet. That's the sentiment in the workplace. Despite all that usage, despite all that experience at home and at work, US employees are still interested in more training on AI. They don't feel that it's complete yet. 8 in 10 US employees would say they would like more AI training at work. And here's what surprised me. I mean, this openness is fantastic. They would like to begin with the basics. So we're not talking about a very advanced user base. People still want to be coached on basic functions like prompting, searching, where do I start? How do I better prompt, perhaps? Some might argue you don't even need a prompt today, but they're very concerned about data safety and security. And I think we need to double click on that because that's one of the major barriers to adoption. And then they have more specific concerns that are related to their industry, operational things, policy and regulation. About a third are also keeping that on their back view. But the interesting fact is that we still have a lot of room for training. We still need to provide a lot of hand-holding, and we need to clarify issues, concerns around data safety and security, especially if we're banking on personalization, getting user information to develop or deliver better services. That brings us to the trust gap. Now, in general, US adults do not quite readily trust AI-based advertising, brands, organizations that use AI when creating products. They don't find those reliable. 19% is still a very low percentage point. But there's a lot of opportunity, and there are pockets of audiences, consumers, who are more ready to embrace AI, more ready to, and I'm not just talking about a chatbot here, I'm talking about a product that is leveraging AI, perhaps a virtual assistant in your car, or a robot that's helping you check in to a hotel, the whole gamut. People who are claiming to be early tech adopters are obviously more open to these kinds of products. If you're using a smart device at home or a smart system at home, you have basically more experience with AI and its benefits. You get that faster, perhaps you're more aware. And you'll see a lot of pop-up from smart light users, smart thermostat users, and I have more data on smart home. Basically, they're also significantly above average. What we want under this circumstance is that imagine a line going through here. You want to be above the norm. Another group that's really interesting for folks who are interested in sustainability in terms of trust in AI are those who are tracking their carbon footprints when they're clicking on advertising, when they're taking a flight. This is a group that's zoomed in on sustainability, and they care very much about their actions, their daily actions. And as we all well know, AI actually uses a lot of energy, perhaps is not the most yet environmentally friendly technology, but given perhaps their openness to new technologies, their tendency to track data, personal tendency to track data, quantify things, this group is also interested in and is more trusting of AI-based solutions. Health monitor users, another group that might be relevant for healthcare. Not to forget those who are going through certain life stages. So if you're buying a new home, you might be interested in home security systems. If you're looking to upgrade your car, get a new car, auto shoppers, also above average in terms of trusting AI-based products. Parents, and imagine all the auxiliary products and services related to parenting, huge market, huge opportunity, also more trusting of AI. And then I want to just double click on multilinguals. There's a reason I put that in. We were very interested in the different modes of thinking, like is there a particular type of brain or a thinking approach that makes you more likely to embrace AI? That was our thinking behind some of the questions that we put into the study. We asked about speaking more than one language or another language besides English. We asked about neurodivergence. We asked about disability. We asked about a number of background-related questions that would, education level, for instance, that might give us some clues about AI adoption. Among them, multilinguals were the one group that popped above average. And when we dug into it and spoke with subject matter experts, such as linguistic anthropologists, as to why this might be the case, basically, they said it's a signal of a nimble, agile brain that is used to pivoting, that is used to embracing new, that is used to empathizing, taking the other's point of view. All of these things signal flexible thinking. So could be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on, especially if you have a diverse population. Multilingualism, as you might guess, aligns with a diverse ethnic population. So very hopeful about the future with Gen Z being more diverse than older generations. When we look at AI-generated advertising, the trend, the theme is very similar. In general, people don't really yet trust it. This is assuming that they are able to figure out that AI generated the picture or the video that they're watching. So there's an if there. But again, interestingly, smart device users pop up in terms of being okay with that kind of messaging. Early tech adopters, you might have expected new home buyers. So for real estate related marketers, that can be another avenue. Parents, auto shoppers, gamers also pop up. Very similar trend to before. I liked seeing opportunity in what seems to be a sort of a negative story. To me, it's not, the story here is not that few people yet trust AI or AI generated messaging. We all know that. More interesting thing is who's already advanced in their thinking, who's already open to AI, and where is the opportunity for us in terms of targeting our products, engaging with audiences, delivering the right message, the right type of message to the right people. The privacy gap, and this is the third and final gap I want to talk about today. I think this is where the rubber meets the road. Looking at everything else around AI, this is where people who are going to embrace AI or are already embracing AI feel very comfortable. And this is where those people in the middle or those people who are still far from AI feel very cautious. Now, if we look at who feels comfortable with AI and how are they using AI, we see a difference in terms of gender. And there's a reason why I'm tapping on gender, which you'll see in a minute. Women, interestingly, this is not a capability issue. Women, interestingly, are less likely than men to embrace AI at home, at work, or in terms of training. And that has tremendous implications in terms of access to technology, chances of advancement in the workplace, having access to new information or new forms of entertainment, so on and so forth. But why is that, is the question. The gender gap in AI adoption is actually rooted in privacy concerns. The trust in AI with personal information is significantly lower among women than men. So let's get to know our audience when we're messaging them about AI, boldly explaining that we're using AI or generating with AI. And women are less likely than men to be willing to share personal information for customization. Now, in marketing circles, there's a lot of talk about hyper-personalization when delivering an ad. Well, unless we address this gap, we're going to be underserving half of our audience. So that also is a barrier. And also, I mean, this is not something new that we're seeing in history of emerging new technologies, albeit AI is much more pervasive than what we've seen before. Back in the day when e-commerce was just emerging, as a method for shopping, women who hold the majority of household budget were also a little bit reticent about embracing AI and when we embraced it in e-commerce. And when we had dug into the reasons behind it, they were careful about using their credit card information online. So very similar. I don't trust it yet. I'm more discerning. I'm going to be a little bit more critical. It's not a capability issue. Basically, expect women to scratch the surface a little bit and be a little bit more skeptical. Now, like I mentioned, it's a big study. There's obviously so much more information in there. If you have any questions you'd like to ask now or as a follow-up, I'd be happy to answer. If you have questions that we cannot answer, I would love to include them in the next iteration of the study. So please feel free to reach out. Are there any questions? Let's see. I'm seeing a lot of interest in networking. I think this is it.
Hey, Jill, that was really good. So we have a couple of questions. What is next in your work from Elizabeth Kramer?
What is next in our work?
Yes.
A few themes. One is that, okay, if you don't trust AI, what do you do about it? That is basically, we have preliminary data, qualitative data that says, well, people do double check and then use the information. So there's a bit of a process in using AI. They don't stop necessarily, but it's just they double check and then until they verify the information. That is one thing that we're going to look into. If you are double checking what you're finding, be it, a location, a product, something for work, how much effort are you putting? What other resources are you going? What is the user map journey there? Another thing that we're keen on, and I have spoken about this, you can just search and find it. I've spoken about it at the AI Marketers Guild, is the usage of time. We are so focused on productivity, efficiency, that we might be omitting the consumer perspective here. When you're asking people, if you were given actually the structure to shift the time that you're gaining from AI to something else, what would you do? And the answer is rarely more work. Now, the employers are very interested in pushing in more work and producing more. Obviously, for a revenue perspective, that makes sense. We saved a week here, we saved 8 hours here. But imagine being able to, using also smart AI-driven products at home and saving a bunch of time. What would you shift that to? Number one is time with friends and family. So I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be socializing. Number two is media. I'm going to be watching more. I'm going to be listening more. That gives advertisers a lot more touch points. And number three are other leisurely activities, again, signaling more economic movement. So that's something that we'd like to research more, especially for advertisers, agencies perspective. Yeah.
That's nice. We have another question from Curtis. So women are the dominant force in decision related to the home. How does this play into this?
How does it, if women are, if I'm understanding right, if women are making majority of the purchase decisions, how does this attitude and approach play into it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's exactly why we wanted to research further. Also, are they aware of biases? So one thing is that if you are framing something you're putting in the marketplace as AI generated, thinking you're communicating being a more progressive, you're communicating being tech forward, the women among your audience or buyers may be more skeptical and receive that as a caution point rather than a buying point. That's where we are currently. There is benefit in tracking the narrowing of that gap, obviously, to see if we have even more opportunities coming up. That's why we want to go back into field and see where things are. You just have to be careful about it and cognizant about it. The key is to perhaps ensure women that their data is protected and to guide them through, if training is needed, to guide them through careful steps, again, protecting their data, making sure their job is not, communicating that their job, for instance, is not at risk. In the commercial sense, highlighting the benefits and overriding that with risks is also smart. So telling them what they're going to get as a result of that AI-based engagement, how their data is protected, how their data is anonymized, and communicating that obviously in a consumer-friendly language might be helpful. Interestingly, I mean, just generally, I do have a lot of hope about, the near and far future, because people are generally thinking that AI is good for society. It's just when it comes close to them, in their home, in their purchase, on their screen, when the proximity is reduced, that's when you see the trust issues. I think it will close in time, but we're not there yet.
Maybe. I mean, that sounds a bit scary, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I had a product, let's say a parenting product that was smart and meaning, AI driven based, and I wanted to target moms, I would want to know their shopping journey, including AI related sources, given the trust issue.
Right. So we have another question from Arthur. As a researcher, how are you leveraging AI for deep, timely market research?
Good question. So personally, I'm using it when I'm trying to, on the qualitative projects, I think it's wonderful because you can query large texts in a closed environment. So you're putting in the data that you collected. So it's more controlled. And then you're querying that vast set of, say, interviews, which used to take us weeks. And we used to imagine sitting at a desk and with a highlighter and seeing what the themes are. Yeah. Now you can do it, by just asking what you ask your interviewees, the same questions to the text. And it actually unearths, I think, a lot more, and you become a better researcher. So that's one method that I found to be very, very helpful. Another thing that I'm seeing across the board is that data cleaning, data preparation is becoming a lot faster. Imagine going from maybe a week to overnight. Last but not least, in quantitative analyses, depending on the software that you use, you can see the basic trends, initial read of your data with one click right now. Before, again, you used to, create variables and harness the data a little bit until it became readable to you, and that would take time. And now it's just as easy as uploading a file. So I find it very useful. What I do keep an eye on are hallucinations when I'm doing desktop research. So that's a sad reality.
And also, I feel like, when you're doing qual or quant research, most of the stated responses also been like, it's rational responses that comes in, right? So we would like to get more into subconscious level, like system one responses is also very important. And I feel like, AI by, eye tracking or facial movements, we can also analyze from there as well.
Yeah, or even just probing deeper and deeper with a bot that's used to generating questions, that can also unearth a lot more. Yeah. And you're reducing bias in a way. I mean, I might impose a bias being female, being, I don't know, wearing red or something during the interview. And if you're using an independent third party that's generic, that's unbiased, seemingly non-gendered, that might also help the research.
Definitely. We just have one more question from Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you found any other demographic gaps in AI update, like age, political leaning, geography, etc.? If so, what effect does that all have on market research and data-led decisions?
So to address the data issue, if your sample is balanced, so nationally representative or representative of the group that you're looking at, you should be able to see what's out there in the marketplace in a representative way. So what you're relying on statistical power to say what I'm seeing in this chart on the slide, actually 95% of the time, that difference exists out there on the street. So that the sampling, the statistical approach, the recruitment takes care of that. When we look at the data, there is variance with age as well. You can expect the younger generation to be a little bit more open and embracing AI. The interesting thing I found is that millennials are really ready to embrace AI. So they're the movable middle. So if I had a large office and I was trying to bring in enterprise AI, I might look harder and make sure they are taken care of. The upper ranks are going to be more motivated to embrace AI. I mean, higher income, upper level, because they're driving business and they understand that's the future. The millennial in the middle ranks is where the movable middle is.
Perfect. So I think we have follow-up questions from Arthur, the previous one. So, but apart from your internal data, what about data that is out there in the market?
Yeah, I mean, I have a Google search going on AI Gap. There's a lot of information of similar vein, similar trend. Also noting that the workforce may not be quite ready. C-suite may, and then as an extension of that, C-suite is questioning their investments. So if you just do a cursory search online, you will see these kinds of studies. I especially appreciate, I mean, this is US. I especially appreciate the global studies that show the difference in different countries, about it's also cultural attitude towards technology. Sometimes AI is an equalizer in the global platform. If you're economically behind, let's say, you use AI to get ahead. So that's interesting to see. If you do a global study, large consulting firms have the capacity to dive into those global studies. So I think that's quite interesting to track. There is a study that I would recommend checking out. It's from KPMG and a university in Australia. And it's vast, it's multi-year, and it's global. And you can see an interesting trend there. The more people use AI, the less they start trusting it. Meaning, unless you improve the technology, you're going to lose your audience. Unless they start getting better and better results, you're going to lose their patience. So that's something to keep an eye on. I thought that was interesting.
I think we have a video question from Curtis.
Can't see it. Do you mind reading it? And then I'll explain why I put my company's name as IrisPlex.
No, I think it's going to be more of a video and Q&A. Just give me a moment. Also, everyone, we have a short poll. So please take that. Is Curtis there? So I was just wondering if he's there on the. So. Then we'll just wait for some time. If you have any questions, we can go through that. Curtis is here, so wants to have a question. Just let him.
I have a question for the audience.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm always curious. I mean, this is one group's point of view. What would they want to research more? What would they want to understand next? Like if they had no budget issues, money is not the object, and they could devise any study they could about AI adoption, what would they ask?
It's a lot of interesting thing.
Okay, so let me see.
Do you want me to read one of them? So
There's one message that could you, because there's one message that's blocking my view over others.
Yeah, let me read for you. So Curtis mentioned trends for companies focused on B2C.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Justin, I'm curious about the use of agents, not just single purpose AI interactions, but agents that handle wholesale process. Right. Bill Perkins, AI predictive success rates. Okay. And where Handy mentioned that whether it's inherently linked to income in a capitalist system or whether people would adopt it in any way with no financial incentive.
I think it's a follow-up. You know what? Whoever asked that, feel free to just email me. I don't have your contact information. I can answer that with the data that we have. Usually it's not an income issue, it's an access issue, if the intent is there.
For consumers, I would want to know what specific ways does AI trigger their loss in trust, and what kind of AI experience enhances their trust.
Right. What are the perceived benefits and risks? I think we would want to look into that. If the benefit outweighs the risk, the theory of reasoned action would suggest you're going to take that leap and you're going to move forward with whatever action you're taking. When I've looked into cases from customer experience, shopping, etc., again, if they have a positive experience, they feel validated and they feel sort of warmer towards the brand. If they are given the loop and are getting maybe less than useful information, then they feel reticent about the brand. So something to keep an eye on. But definitely, I agree with Arthur. You would have to look into a bunch of case studies and you would need to maybe zoom in on different scenarios.
Right. Elizabeth mentioned, I would want to know how engaging different corporate stakeholders, especially senior leaders in AI, could improve. Lack of AI knowledge and buying lengthens and complicates the buying process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think if I can find a partner to do that with, I would love to supplement this with a B2B view. Not just among employees, but among people of certain rank, people with buying power or decision-making power, and then see where they are at. The global data on that varies quite a bit. And a lot of it depends on how mature you are as an organization in your adoption of AI.
So we have one hand raised. Can you can we try to get Curtis on the stage? Oh, there you go.
Oh boy.
Here and
I think you answered the question, of course, so that's fine. I was just wanting a little more B2C about you. Oh, that's all. I don't know if you can.
The sound is a little echoey, but I can follow.
Yeah.
I
So
think,
it's
yeah,
just
sorry.
the user journey, how you're using it, augment, I would say, process in contrast with being part of decision making to select the product or the product. Did you get any?
How does some folks are seeing two Curtises, so I think maybe double login or something. And there's an echo, sorry. So how does the consumer journey changes affect the decision-making process? I pieced it together.
Or decision making to help.
We can't understand. It's getting parsed, chopped. If you can type, maybe.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And now it's fine.
Hey everyone, please take poll, which is just a short poll in meantime.
Oh, decision making is one part of the process. Augment is one part of the challenge. Process augmentation to support the UX journey is obviously another part. I mean, here's something that I just I was at a conference in the beginning of the week, and I was listening to these experts who from telecom industry who were having who were explaining the complexity of being able to serve something customized to their customers, like be it an ad, be it a particular bundle of programming. And it's easy enough to say, oh, you should hyper personalize everything. If people get personal information that benefits them, then they will jump into it. Yes, but imagine the back end of it as to what you need to do to the organization to prepare those packages of personalized packages, to maybe reorg the group that is serving that. So there's a lot that goes into both the organization to be more modular and agile. And also, you know, by the time you get to the checkout, there are many touch points. You're right.
Thank you.
Right. So there's a very fair point about from Sharik saying that maybe we're being pushed to showcase the value of AI too quickly within 6 months. It is an iterative process, depending on, especially if you're building something custom. And the industry, it works on a quarterly basis. So unless you're showing results right away, perhaps aiming for quick wins, it's hard to speak generally about this, could be the way to go. But that is an issue where the CEO might be expecting to see an ROI and is threatening to cut back on resources, and then implementation just needs more trial and error.
We have 5 minutes. We just have one more question from Arun.
Sure.
What is the return on investment in AI? Objectively measure the dollars going in versus, generated or saved.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I can't read it.
What is the return on investment in AI? Objectively measure the dollars going in versus dollars generated or saved.
I don't have an answer for that. I think that would be, if it's like how much money we're putting into AI and what are we getting out of it? Is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
It so depends. And I think that's part of the problem. It so depends, and there's so many varied implementations of AI. I mean, your phone has AI, and your computer runs a few programs with AI. I work my wash machine, my door, and a few other things, all with my phone, with various apps that use AI. So there's so many different implementations at the user level, at an organization level, at the government level. So there's so much going on. So it's really hard to probably total all of that. But I'm sure someone has measured it. I just don't have the number. And then measuring the output is also depends on the KPI. Not everything is revenue generated. Sometimes it's behavioral, like taking you from point A to B. If I open the door successfully with my phone from afar, that's not revenue. That's just a successful loop. So I think it would be hard to measure, but it is the smart thing to measure if you're implementing AI for a company. It is the smart KPI to keep an eye on and to go for, because you're going to have to defend that investment come next year or come next quarter. If you're in charge of that AI project, or if you're selling in a SaaS product that has AI, and you are promising a return on investment, I think it's smart to keep an eye on revenue to see if it's actually meeting the goal. And also, I'm a fan of coming up with additional resonance-based KPIs, because not everything turns into revenue right away. Going back to that comment, perhaps it's adoption. I'm a fan of, in companies, measuring employee satisfaction. So even if people use it, they may, or not use it, they may still perceive the company as being progressive, as doing something for them. Perhaps employee satisfaction goes up. Just think 360 and measure everything, anything that might move forward, I would say. And also time savings. I mean, we're pegged to that as a society, but I would keep an eye on time savings so that you can speak positively about what you're creating, and also iterate and improve.
Yeah, that makes total sense. All right, I think we are progressing to the next session. So thank you so much for everyone.
Of course.
And we have a short poll. Please do take that, and I will drop Hidil's LinkedIn page, and then please connect with her on LinkedIn. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.